What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Daniel here from the Geek Speak Nation channel, here in my new setup to bring you all my review of Batman issue number 44. So, before we get into talking about this issue, I just wanted to say thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, who have been subscribing and watching the videos. We just had 2 videos reach 1,000 views, so that's awesome. And I also wanted to say happy National Batman Day, all you Batman fans, just like me, because Batman is, of course, the best superhero ever. But we're not getting into that. What we're here to talk about today is Batman issue number 44, written by Scott Snyder and Brian Azzarello, with guest art by Jacques. So, this issue is about Batman, but in this time Bruce Wayne, so it's kind of like a flashback story that takes place a few months after Zero Year, and follows the young detective along with Jim Gordon to hunt down the person who killed and dropped a boy named Peter from a very large height in a place where there's no helicopters or blimps available. So before we get to talking about the story and the content of this issue, I want to mention the artist, or the guest artist I should say, on this issue, Jacques. Now, Jacques is entirely different in his approach than Greg Capullo is to his art. I think when you look at Greg Capullo's art, it's very cinematic, literal, based off the interpretations in which he's given, or based off the words that he's given in the scripts to write down and draw the panels out. But when you look at an artist like Jacques, he reminds me a lot of my favorite artist, Jay Lee. And when they're given a script, or when they're given their context of what they're supposed to do, they're able to do that in such an abstract way that really helps the dialogue and the script and the scenery just transcend the way you thought it would be. The way he handles transitions and action sequences are so fluid and dark, and I eat it up every single panel. It's just awesome. Jacques' art is just on point in this issue. It's the way he does fight sequences in a way where he uses the cape and it transforms into transitions and makes different shapes and things like that. It's very angular, but at the same time it's very detailed and defined. I really loved the art in this issue. So if Greg Capullo ever can't make it at the day in the office, Jacques can always step in. But based off how many hours Greg Capullo works a week, which I see him on Twitter, we don't have to worry about that anytime soon. The art in itself is a beast and is worth buying the issue in itself. The story is just, it's just fantastic. Brian Azzarello and Scott Snyder are 2 of my favorite authors when it comes especially to comic books, because they're able to take elements of things that we're afraid to talk about, or we're just afraid of in general as a society and as a culture, and put it into a modern setting with these fantastical elements that we're enjoying, in comic books. We have things in this issue that we face, like the economic downfall of a city and urban crime and the disenfranchised youth and racial divide, all because of the way a city has turned out, and the singling out of minorities in our cultures and in our cities, and leaving them to the dust, in a sense. I think it was a really powerful issue in the way they tackled all these things. I think starting off with the issue of race, when you focus on a section of Gotham called the Narrows and the Four Corners, where you have a predominantly African American and Latino demographic of Gotham, and you have this part of the city that always feels left behind. You have this part of the city that feels so angry and deprived, and it's just something so relatable nowadays, in which we see an agitated group of people in our races. It's very troublesome, and at the same time we want order and we want to help move forward, and we have that conflict between law and the actuality of the situations that we live in. I'll get into the police aspect of that later, or in a few short seconds in the review, but the way they deal with the aspects of like the bodega that Peter and his father own, and how that represents more than just a store. It represents a cultural cornerstone in their family. It's like a symbol of like, we're still here and we're still trying to survive and we're still going to make it. So when it goes up in flames in the issue, it's very powerful and it's very heartbreaking, because Gotham is such an unforgiving place, and it's representative of the world in a lot of ways, in which it's a character unto itself, and it creates these heroes and these villains and these environments and these circumstances in which we're all pitted in real life, and in these characters, fictional situations which we're pitted against. And it's about how we respond. That's the real question, or the real enigma in this situation, because you have, when just focusing in Gotham, in the world that Scott Snyder has set up, you have deprived people who will want to turn to crime or to drugs, and especially the super drugs being given out by Mr. Bloom, to help supplement and help try to like get that extra edge to try to get ahead and try to get back to where they were, or even further. So that was a really interesting element that they brought up, and it's great that they touched on it. And it really hurts to see when you have things of like people trying to move forward and people trying to be progressive, like Bruce Wayne and Jim Gordon, and they're trying to revamp the city. They're trying to make it safer, but at the same time, that comes at a cost. That comes at the cost of destroying people's lives and destroying their environments and possibly their cultures, in order to try to move it forward into a culture that we deem as appropriate. And because of that, there's so much conflict and there's so much anger that's riled up in an environment that's already sensitive. And so that's what you get when you get Peter, who goes to, in the issue, when he goes to like a press conference of Bruce Wayne, he's trying to reach out and he's trying to inform him of what's going on. But when you have characters like Jim Gordon or Bruce Wayne who live their lives trying to climb to the top and bring everybody up with them, they forget to listen down below. They forget to try to understand and comprehend what's been happening down there, because they focus so much on what's around them and not what's going on underneath their noses, or what's going on unseen to them. And so I think that was a very, very interesting aspect that they brought up as well into the issue. I've been saying that a lot because, well, it's interesting. From that aspect of what Bruce Wayne / Batman goes through, he's shifted into the world of law and order where Jim Gordon lives, and he's trying to bring order and move forward with the city and make it safer. But at the same time, you, like I said before, you have the sensitive, dangerous, deprived area of Gotham that's hungry for actual change. And when you have that coupled with constant harassment and just constant, what's the right word? Just a constant force that the police represent in Gotham, of them being worn down as well. And when you have these two forces collide, it often doesn't bring out good outcomes, because you have people being put into an agitated environment and they feel as if the actions that are occurring are an act of oppression upon them. And in a lot of cases, based off what we get a sense of in Gotham, that is the case. You have people abusing power, and you have people abusing the people. You have people abusing the situation that they're in to express whatever amount of force or whatever amount of will they want to, because they feel this is the only way to survive in such a ruthless place. And so the Scott Snyder and Brian Azzarello in this issue take that element and touch upon it. And they touch upon, you have this cop who's, he's quick on the trigger because this is a dangerous place. This is a dangerous environment. If someone doesn't come at me right, I'm going to be ready. This is such a powerful, powerful element in this issue. And it's the reason why this issue transcends so many Batman stories for me, because so subtly and so artistically, Scott Snyder and Brian Azzarello really, to the core, just focus on how painful and how hard it is nowadays to just find a balance in law and order and in civil unrest and civil disobedience and then civil followership. I don't know, civil obedience, you know, trying to find that element of like, we need change and we're pushing for change, but at the same time, the negative elements that all come together from that. I'm sorry if this is coming off as rambling, but it's just a really interesting aspect that Scott Snyder and Brian Azzarello bring up that not a lot of people talk about when it comes to this issue. And talk about the elements of dealing with, you know, the police crime and abuse of power, but at the same time, the clash of what environment they are going into every single day. So I just think it's very interesting and very powerful and worth talking about, and it truly inside of me stirs up conversation and inspires me as a writer to know that you can take a character like Batman and have him relate so well to the modern issues that we go through from day to day, you know. And just as a black man, in all honesty, this issue struck me to my core, and I think it was very powerful and came at the right moment. And I think it was done very tastefully and done very well. And I think it's so great to I think it's always great to see when comic books can remind us we've always been here because we've had something to say, and all of us are here because we have something to say. So let's talk about it. Let's be honest on both sides. Let's talk about what's going on. And I think that's the ultimate thing to get about this issue is, and the thing that Bruce learns in this issue is that you have to listen. You know, you have to listen to your environment. You have to listen to other people. That's why I was like choked up looking at that last panel of when Bruce puts his hand to the ground, because what that represented was him trying to listen to the earth and listen to his environment around him. He wanted to talk to those teenagers at the end of the issue because he didn't want them to end up like Peter. He didn't want them to feel like they had to resort to a figure like Mr. Bloom or resort to crime lords like Penguin and I think the 4-5s. I think they're what's called the drug people on the block. You know, I just think it was really well done. And for that reason, I say, guys, you gotta buy this issue. You gotta read this issue. Batman issue number 44, on all fronts, from the cover to the writing by Brian Azzarello and Scott Snyder, and to the art by Jacques, is all phenomenal. And it's just very well done. I think my only gripe that I have with this issue is that, you know, in the description, it really teases that, oh, this is going to be the big origin story for Mr. Bloom, but it wasn't. You don't get much information on him. All you know is that he's been around for a while. He's been around since 0 Year, or the end of 0 Year. So, you know, it kind of rules out him being Joker or him being Dr. Death, which were a lot of popular theories going around. But we'll see how it goes. Either way, guys, read this issue. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like my review, hit that like button down below and subscribe to become a part of the Geek Nation. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are on our way to 300 subscribers, and each and every single person, you matter. So please, guys, subscribe, like, share, do all those things because it helps our channel grow, and we want to grow with you guys and conversate with you guys. So let us know what you think in the comment section down below, what you think about all the things that we talk about, and especially this issue, which I really want to see what other people think. Now that you've listened to me ramble for quite a while, thank you all so much, and don't forget to get geeky.